Today we're going to talk about showing your value at work and when self-doubt gets in the way and you struggle with really, speaking up about yourself, showing your value, showing your experience. And it came up as a topic with a friend of mine today who said that she was really struggling to, show her value and how other people in the organization really, into her mind, don't have any self doubt when it comes to self promotion or fear of judgment that they can do that, so flawlessly. And we were just talking about that idea, and I was like, thank you. This is a perfect theme that I knew would come up in the course of this confidence challenge. And today is day 8, and for my networks and my own systems and communities, I know this is that time of year that it's like it's time to start speaking up for myself a little bit more. And we've talked about that idea of finding your voice. And the idea is you have a voice, and it's more how do you use it? But also, sometimes we have these conditionings from our families and from other systems that when we speak up about ourselves or we self promote, that might seem like, someone with a big head or ego or all of that. And how do we start right sizing that voice in us and really allowing ourselves to see our own value initially? And there's a few different exercises that I'm going to share to you that would really, really help support you. And it's things that I would have done myself, but also things I would have done when I was a leader of a team, and also, I would say team, my THs, for those that aren't Irish. I'm sure you're having great crack on that one. Um, we always have great crack with our THs. But for even again for my clients, I do this in particular if they think that this is a year that they want to go for promotion, or particularly if they want to change. And it's also really valid if you are not working for a company and you are finding your own way and your own path with trying to work it all out. So allow me to share some of the things that I would work through with clients and finding a way to support you to find your own rhythm. And also, I think it's really worth noting that self doubt is going to exist. And it's something that I would still have self doubt, but to the outside world, you might perceive that sure, Norma never doubts herself or she doesn't have fears. And I think that is doing anybody an injustice, because even, the most senior people I have worked with, men and women, and again, this is not just a female thing, of course we have doubts. Of course, doubt is always going to exist. And it's a difference between taming the self doubt and also questioning, is the doubt mine or does it belong to my family or systems that I've occupied in before, or it's been projected on me? So, important questions to start reflecting on where self doubt doesn't come into play and where it does. I used to always say I never doubted myself in work, but I would have doubted myself in relationships or something that I didn't have enough experience in. And, I put terms and conditions on my self doubt. And it really is that I feel more resourced in some other areas of my life, or some areas where I look at past evidence and I seek out the things that haven't helped me. And I will talk a lot more about self doubt throughout the course of the month, but I wanted to really get into the heart of how could you start self promoting yourself, or what would equip you to be able to speak about yourself. As I said, this is also for people who are self employed or have the aspiration to show up a bit more on social this year. I want you to start putting a time in your diary every week. This is a great exercise to do on a Friday evening just before you log off. And you could take the last kind of time of the day to really, reflect on that, I suppose, the key wins that you've had that week. So, and it's lots of coaches do this, but this is a great habit to start forming in January before it gets busy. Put it in the diary now, put it as a weekly occurrence. If you feel weekly is too much, you could put it at the end of the month. Certainly the end of the quarter is a great time to do it as well. So the end of, let's say, spring, end up, and just do it in that kind of cadence. And within that motion, I want you to start reflecting on, what were my proudest moments this week, this month? What did I achieve? If you are in a discipline where there is data points to back up what you've done, better again, make note of the data. We forget them, and we certainly forget them over a period of time. We forget what we've achieved. So really making a habit of that now and really starting as you mean to continue this year. If you think you're due a promotion and you doubt yourself in that, this is the start of your storytelling and your evidence to suggest otherwise, to showcase really what really is important to you and what happened on that given week. So that is habit number one. And just reflecting on my notes, the other one is sponsorship, right? So that is the most important one as well. So if you are in an organization and you have somebody that could sponsor or advocate for you, right? I know in my career, where my voices were not in, let's say, the upper echelons at times, that I had somebody always advocating me because I was able to tell them, I trusted them, with my stories and my proud achievements, and I was able to tell them, the work that I did. And it wasn't always my manager. It was maybe peers that I worked with who had more, authority in certain rooms. It might have been people that I had worked with or collaborated with, project managers across all the different disciplines and functions, that I knew that they had, an ear of somebody senior that had a lot of influence. So who is your sponsor? If you don't have a sponsor, you need a sponsor. And again, if you are self-employed or you're not working in an organization right now, your sponsor could be your coach. And by that coach that tells you, what maybe you are unable to see, whether that is feedback directly to you in terms of knowing, what you did. Because when I hear somebody speak, I'm like, are you not recognizing that is something really important that another person would like to hear? So I had a client today, perfect example. She was talking me through her habitual nighttime routine. And I was like, have you shared this with your team? This is really inspiring. I'm inspired by you. I wouldn't have approached it that way. And that's something that I wouldn't have thought of. And I was like, I think this is something you should share. So this is about what we might cast off and think is, oh, sure, I do that all the time, that people don't know about. And you creating, a bank of stories around that to share with others. And it could be, it could be friends and family initially. It really is like starting in those safe places where you don't doubt yourself and you know there is no fear of judgment, because your biggest supporter, your sponsor, could be your best friend, it could be an older sibling, it could be an aunt, a godmother, a godfather, it could be an uncle that you trust. So it's about telling them your stories, and it would be, did you know I did that this month or last week? And it's really building up that muscle. And that's where we start with the journaling, and then we share that with sponsors, advocates, and people who really believe in us right now. And in the absence of that, that is definitely your time to start working with a coach that could really support you in this journey, especially if you feel that you're really crippled with self-doubt or anxiety, and unable to move forward on this one. That is your kind of key moments that we're talking about on today, and the whole idea of self-promotion and personal branding and all of that. And we'll be speaking a lot more of that during the course of this month. Thank you so much for listening. Great feedback on yesterday's video. And if you haven't caught it already, on day 7, look back, and that was that whole idea of working with that overwhelm that hits us and overtakes us. And today is a real follow-on on that. What would really support you to start self-promoting yourself and also advocating for yourself, and that's power of storytelling when it comes to confidence and quietening down the self-belief. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.